Good evening, Geometry. It's Mr. Lamb, and this is the Transformations Review. Other things you can be doing, looking back over any of those old quizzes. There are several of them, one over every topic. Make sure that you're brushed up and good on all those topics, and also this review. So let's take a look at question number one. Question number one says to list the coordinates of the vertices of each image. And you'll notice that as I kind of take a look at these, this xy tells me the original points xy. So I'm going to use the original points, and I am going to turn them into adding 3 to my x value and subtracting 1 from my y value. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over to the picture, and I'm going to label the points of M, A, T, and H. So right now, and it's a little tough to see, so let me highlight my axes here. I'll put them in yellow. You can find those by finding the little arrows as well. But that'll kind of help me as I take a look at them and help me with my counting. So math, the M in math is at -2, +2. So that's at -2, 2. A is at 3, 0. T is at 0, -4, and H is at -4, -2. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find those actual points. And then to find my new points, to find the new M, for instance, I'm going to add 3 to my x value. So the old M was at -2, and -2 plus 3 is 1. And I'm going to subtract 1 from the y's. So instead of 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. So the new M is at 1, 1. The new A, well, the old A was at 3, 0. So I'm going to do 3 plus 3 is 6, and 0 minus 1 is -1. The new T, the old T was at 0, -4. So 0 plus 3 is 3. -4 minus 1 is -5. And the new H, the old H was at -4, 2. So -4 plus 3 is -1. And -2 minus 1 is -3. So my new M at 1, 1, my new A at 6, -1, my new T at 3, -5, my new H at -1, -3. Second part of this, part B, again, I can see that it says start with XY. And I've had a few people say, well, why don't I start with the new M? Because that new M, that's actually X prime, Y prime. And I don't want to change this into a second one. This is go back to the beginning, start all over again, and find the new points. So I'm going to find a new M, a new A, a new T, and a new H. And I'm not putting a second prime because this is not my second transformation. I'm doing my first transformation again. Okay, so this is a dilation of 7. So every point x and y value needs to be multiplied by 7. So M was at -2, 2. Now it's -14, 14. O was at 3, 0. Multiplying by 7, that's 21 and 0. T was at 0, -4. Multiplying by 7, that's 0 and -28. And H was at -4, -2. Multiplying by 7, that's -28 and -14. And that'll take care of question number 1. All right, question number 2 has an A, B, and a C, and wants me to graph the following image. Okay, so now I need to graph these things. First one says capital R, x equals -2. Capital R means reflect it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my line at x equals -2. So I'm going to go to the left 2, and I'm going to put a vertical line there. That is the line x equals -2 right there. I need to flip all my points over top of that one. So M stays in the same spot. A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the right. So now it has to go 5 units to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which means I'm off the graph over here. My new M and my old M were the same. My old A, this is my new A. All right, my old T is 2 units to the right, so I'll go 2 units to the left. That is my new T. And my old H was 2 units to the left, so I'll go 2 units to the right. And that is my new H. And then I just have to connect those dots. So M to A to T, T to H, and H back to M. All right, looks something like that. All right, for letter B, it says little r, 90 degrees, and then that O, that is a rotation of 90 degrees around the origin. Now, I know this one to be, my rule is take your xy's and turn it into negative y x's. All right, so let me take a look at my origin, because it does give me the letter O, so this is all about the origin. So there's the origin. And the points M are at negative 2, 2. That's the M right now. So negative 2, 2, if I were to plug it into my little formula up here at the top, negative 2, 2 will become the point negative 2, negative 2. So that's my new M. My old A was at 3, 0. So that means it's at negative 3, 0. I'm sorry. It was at 3, 0. It should be at 0, 3. Should be at 0, 3 for the new A. The old T was at 0, negative 4. So that means it's going to be at 4, 0. That's T. And the old H is at negative 4, negative 2. So that's going to put it at 2, negative 4. And that is the new H. And let's go ahead and connect them again. M to A to T, T to H, and H back to M. Should look something like that. And again, I'm not writing down these numbers, but you can believe that I would have a piece of scrap paper and I would be writing all these things down. All right, and then C, you have to do two things. First, the capital T, 0, 2. That is a translation of left and right 0, but up 2. So I'm just going to move all my points right now up 2 units. Hit them with some little blue dots. And then I have to reflect them across the y-axis. Okay. Well, flip across the y. Here's the y-axis. It's now yellow. So flip my blue points across that. So let's do my new M. So M is 2 units to the left. So I'm going to move it 2 units to the right. This is now M. A is 3 units to the right. So it's going to go 3 units to the left. That's where A will be. T is right on the line, so it's going to stay right on the line. T. And H is 4 units left. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 units right. That is going to be my new H. So there's my M, A, T, and H. And let's connect them. M to A to T, T to H, and H back to M. Should look something like that one. All right, and now let's go down and finish up this page with question number 3. Question number 3 has 2 parts, A and B. They are multiple choice. And part A says line segment has endpoints with coordinates 1, 4, and 5, 8. If the segment is reflected over the y-axis, that means my points reflect over the y, means you have to do negative x, but keep the y the same. And then it goes through another one. It says it's reflected over the x. So now keep that same x value, negative x, and change your y value, negative y. Some of you may be saying, well, wait a minute, isn't negative x, negative y the same thing as 180-degree rotation? And the answer is yes, it is. It's absolutely the same thing. Reflecting over the x-axis, then the y-axis is the exact same thing as rotating at 180 degrees. So I just need to now change my points. If I plug in the points 1, 4 here, 1, 4 would first flip and become negative 1, 4, and then it would flip again and become negative 1, negative 4. So that gets rid of answer choice B, C, and D. My only answer is answer A. I would want to take my points and do the opposite of x and the opposite of y. And really, once I do this out, I actually come back. I'll come back here and just write it as a single step. After I do all my steps, I'll actually condense it down and make it look as a single step. All right, and now for part B. I'm going to think about this the same kind of way. All right, I have some point that's going to start at an xy. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dilate it by a factor of 3, which means it's 3x and 3y. And then I'm going to move it up 6, which means I'm going to do 3x and then 3y, but I'm going to go up 6, so plus 6. So when I think about a point, and right now I don't care what the point is. If I plug in the point 3, 4, all right, and I'm going to kind of look at my end of the road here. Where does this point map to? Well, it's going to be 3 times my x value, which was 3, so 3 times 3 is 9. And it's going to be 3 times my y value. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 6 is 18. All right, so I need to take the point 3, 4 and turn it into 9, 18. So I'm just going to go through A, B, C, D, and we'll see if any of them do that. All right, so in part A, if I were to take the point 3, 4, let's see what would happen. So 3, 4. If I dilate it by a factor of 6, that would turn 3, 4 into 18, 24. And then translate it up 3 units, that would become 18 and 27, which is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one, looking for 9, 18. So A is not right. Let's check B. Translate it up 6 units. So that means 3, 4 becomes 3, 10. Because 4 plus 6 is 10. Then I'm going to dilate this by a factor of 3. So multiply these by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 times 3 is 30. So does 3, 4 become 9, 30? No, I'm looking for 9, 18. B's not right. Let's try C. Dilation by a factor of 2. Okay, so that's 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. Followed by a translation up 3 units. So up is 8 plus 3 is 11. It is still not 9, 18, so that one's wrong. Let's try D. Move this down a little bit. Translation up 2 units, so 3, 4 becomes 3, 6. 4 plus 2 is 6, followed by a dilation of 3. Multiply them both by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 6 times 3 is 18. So I'm looking for which one of these makes 3, 4 turn into 9, 18, and it is answer choice D. And it doesn't matter which coordinate you pick there. There is a way to do that algebraically, where you start taking x, y's and turn it into x plus 2's and all that kind of stuff, and multiply everything through by 3. And you could do that. I just don't think it's near as easy, especially in a situation where it's a multiple choice question like that. So I think that's a great problem solving strategy. So that's the end of page 1.